All right, well, welcome. Hopefully you can hear me. I think I've got all my systems go here. Once again, I'm Jim Widman. I'm the Department Chair of Mechanical Engineering. Hopefully you were able to attend one of the breakout groups, and I'm just here to answer questions. To ask a question, there should be at the bottom of your screen a Q&A tab, and you can type in a question. I assume somebody will type in there. I can't hear you if for some reason my microphone's not working, but I think I'm good. So I can see a first question came in here. What is the average grade point average of ME graduates? Wow, that's a great question. We graduate about 260 mechanical engineers a year. Occasionally somebody graduates with a 4.0. That's pretty rare, but it has happened. You have to have above a 2.0 in your major mechanical engineering classes to graduate. I don't know what the exact average is, but I'm going to imagine it's somewhere 2.9 to 3.0. We don't have a lot of grade inflation here that you might see at some other schools, especially private schools. But the employers understand that. So the employers know when they're hiring from Cal Poly, they're getting engineers that are ready to contribute day one and know that, a grade point average at Cal Poly, and what does that mean compared to a Stanford grad? It's, they understand that. So sorry, I don't have the exact number there. So, and how often do students repeat classes to increase GPA? We don't actually encourage students to repeat a class just to increase their GPA. I mean, you've passed the class, then we know that you have got the information you need to succeed in the next class. That said, you can take up to 16 units a second time just to increase the grade. And then the new grade will replace the old grade. I only see students do that if they've gotten a D in a class. Certainly not if they've gotten a C. There's no point in doing that. A C means you've adequately attained the course objectives, and there's no reason to take the class again if you've done that. Yeah. Sorry, I got a text in my phone. I'm still worried about the technology in our other sessions. Okay. Okay, do we have other questions? Or did I miss a question? I don't even know if I did or not. Yeah, I think I got all the questions. Or if I didn't actually answer, you can type again. Okay, what are some good skills? What are some good skills that a mechanical engineer should possess? Well, if you graduate from our program, you will have the skills needed to succeed as a mechanical engineer. And mechanical engineering is one of the broadest of all engineering degrees. So we do prepare you to do a lot of things. Most everything is centered around design. You'll see in every year in our curriculum, there are classes where you exercise design skills. And then the sort of analysis that you need to know to back up those designs so that when you've designed something, it's going to we're reasonably sure it works the first time. Most of engineering is based on physics, and physics maybe 80% of what we do. But engineers need to design things that work in the real world, and physics can only take you about 80% there. So if you want to design a competitive product, there's more to it beyond than just the basic science and math. You need to have that, but we also rely on experience. We rely on data collected over years because physics can only predict what's going to happen so well, and engineers have to go beyond that and make things work in the real world. So you've probably heard good math and science skills are essential. Physics is essential. Good work ethic. We are a professional degree that you can get in 4 years, like a doctor or a lawyer, but you got to do it in 4 years. So it does make it an intense degree, and having a good work ethic is very helpful. In industry, they're looking for teamwork skills, communication skills, people that know how to talk to other people, work with other people, work with diverse groups. and as well as be able to speak and write well. And that's, I know when I started engineering school, I was hoping I was never have to write again, but that's not the way it works out. You do need to work on your writing skills. So I hope that answers that question. What are the chances for a waitlisted student? That's a great question, and the reality is I have no answer for you. The departments don't get involved with admissions. The admissions office takes care of all that. I do know that some years we admit waitlisted students, some years we don't. This is a very different year, as you might imagine, so I don't know. I just don't know, and I have to forward your inquiries to them because the admissions office, so if you just Google admissions Cal Poly, you'll get an email address, and they're pretty good about getting back. They get a lot of questions, but they will get back to you. But at this point, I really have no idea how to answer that question, except if you really want to come here, then hold on. We'll see what happens in the next few weeks. I just don't really know. Okay, next question. Is it possible to double major? I'm interested specifically in mechanical engineering and aero. We do not allow double majors in engineering because you would be here for 7 years, and that's silly. And if you look at majors like mechanical engineering and aeronautical or aerospace engineering, there's not that big a difference, except you would have to take a bunch of different classes to satisfy the requirements of each of those degrees. The reality is if you're interested in aerospace, but you want a more general degree, the aerospace industry hires many more mechanical engineers than they hire aerospace engineers. However, if you are just airplanes are your thing or satellites are your thing and that you know that's what you want to do, then maybe aerospace engineering is the way to go. But it would not make much sense to get a double major in mechanical and aerospace. It would make perfect sense to do undergraduate mechanical and a master's in aerospace, or vice versa. That a lot of people do that. A lot of people get a master's degree in a sort of related engineering field, and that would be a much better use of your time because you could do 4 years undergraduate and 1 year of graduate study, and you'd have a master's, bachelor's and a master's. Double majors we usually see. We see double majors in music. We see double majors in sometimes physics, sometimes the sciences, sometimes foreign languages. More popular is to do minors though, just because engineering is kind of intense. So our students will do music minors, they'll do entrepreneurial minors, they will do language minors, and forgetting one. Math minors is also very popular, but not double majors in engineering. That just would take too long. Okay, next question. How long would it take approximately if I wanted to double? Oh, I think I answered that one. Too long. You can't double major in engineering. Hello, let's see. Hello, I'm an incoming transfer. I'd like to get involved before beginning classes if possible. What can I do in mechanical engineering within the college to get started by learn by doing journey? Thanks. Well, as an incoming transfer student, you've done the things to prepare yourself for here. And I think you're probably ready. If you can get work in the summer that's engineering related, that's great. I don't know if that's possible in this economic climate we have right now. The other thing that we're doing and recognizing that it's going to be difficult for students probably to get jobs this summer is we've greatly expanded our summer course offering. And one thing that we're doing in mechanical engineering is we're offering almost every single class a transfer student would need to take in the fall. We're going to offer those basically online virtually in the summer. So there's a that probably be the best use of your time would be to jump in and get some of those classes and then increase the likelihood you could graduate in 2 years. So I'm sure you're going to get some communication from our scheduling and registrar's office probably pretty soon about those courses that are offered this summer and whether or not you could take those, kind of get a head start on our program. But other than that, I think you're by getting admitted here, you've done the things you need to do. Okay, what field of mechanical engineering I should go if I am also interested in coding? I completely missed out on one of our minors. The other minor that's very popular is a computer science minor. and the students that do that typically do our mechatronics concentration. So there's a heavy coding aspect in our mechatronics concentration. So that's when you're programming microprocessors that might be embedded into a mechanical system to make that system smart in some way. Again, my classic example is a self-driving vehicle. The vehicle has to be smart. There's a lot of coding involved, but yet it's a mechanical system that moves dynamically, and you have to take that into account too, and there's a control systems. So the kind of coding that you do in mechatronics are to make, it's not to make an app on your phone. It's, I mean, it could be, but it's usually to make some physical object behave in a way we want it to control it in some way. But you can also get take coding classes on top of that to get a computer science minor on top of your mechanical engineering degree. So yeah, if you're interested in that, I would say look at the mechatronics concentration, and then you can look at a computer science minor. Okay, do you recommend a first year live in the engineering, housing, or in one of the other areas like leadership to meet people? I think both have their benefits. Living in engineering housing sets you up for being with your fellow engineers to study. You know, they've got rooms there. You can go study rooms right in the dorms, which is nice. Engineering goes a lot better when you have people to work through problem sets with, to work through projects with. And then teamwork is a big part of what you learn in an undergraduate engineering degree. On the other hand, if you do have interests like leadership that might set you apart to some of your fellow students, then I see no reason why you wouldn't want to go to the leadership dorm. We have 6,500 engineers on campus, engineering students out of about 20,000 students. So you're not going to be far away from an engineering student when you're on campus, no matter where you live. So I think both are good choices. You're not going to go wrong either way. Are there any reasons I would not be able to switch into ME from industrial engineering, assuming my Cal Poly team? Yeah, no, we don't set any limitations on switching majors after your first quarter. So you can switch majors within the College of Engineering. So you had to be admitted into another engineering major. If you were, after your first quarter, you can apply to change majors. And if you meet the grade point requirement, that there's no reason. I think it's 2.75, I think, to switch into mechanical engineering. You can go to the eadvise.calpoly.edu to see the details there. Now, if you wait 3 years and then decide you want to switch, well, then it's not automatic, because we don't want students working here for 3 years, then switching and having to be here for 4 more to finish a degree. So we would like you to figure that out relatively quickly, and almost all the engineering majors, including mechanical engineering, has an intro class the first quarter. Part of the goal of that class is to make sure that you're in the right place, and if you're not, let's redirect you to what you want. We fully understand you applied as an incoming freshman, you applied to mechanical engineering as a 17-year-old, or you applied to industrial engineering, and things can change by the time you get to campus. So that should be possible if you get good grades your first quarter. Can incoming freshmen enroll in summer classes? That is a great question. Again, we've been, our administration's working very hard to change the rules. So it used to be you couldn't unless there was a special case, but they're trying to make that super easy for students this year. Again, knowing that this summer may be one that students have potentially more time on their hands, faculty have more time on their hands, and this quarter we're kind of practicing teaching online, and we're going to be much better in the summer. So I believe that will be a possibility to take 1 or 2 classes. Just keep checking your email. I am not in the decision tree on that. Most likely it would be classes in physics, math, or chemistry that would relate most to your degree. Our intro class won't be offered this summer for incoming freshmen. That'll be offered in the fall. So, but there are classes there should be classes you can take if you're allowed to. I just don't know what the status of that is, but keep checking your email. Can you talk a bit more about the low rate to graduate in 4 years, please? Sure. So like I was saying earlier, about 1/3 of our students will graduate in 4 years, which is actually not that low for us. It'll actually be high from our historical averages. And again, there's a number of reasons that students don't graduate in 4 years, which are perfectly fine reasons. The extended internships, the study abroad experiences, the really being here to get leadership activity in clubs. Sometimes we have students take a couple quarters off because they've found a job. It's not actually a formal internship, but they've just found something they want to do for a couple quarters, and it makes sense to them. And then our blended program, it's amazing. We'll probably have about 25 students that'll go into the blended program. And the way the government calculates four-year graduation rates, because they didn't graduate in 4 years, they don't count. They count against us. So it looks bad, even though that's another 10%. So we'd be at close to 43% if we could count those students, but we're not allowed to count them. They haven't graduated. So, and then the reasons the students don't graduate, sometimes they do get in academic difficulties and don't address that quickly enough. It turns out we did a big study on our students. If you fail one class, it probably doesn't mean you're going to take longer, because you just retake that class again the next quarter, and we're on the quarter system, so you can make that up pretty quickly. But if you start failing multiple classes, it's really hard to graduate in 4 years because we have long prerequisite chains. Students also don't graduate in 4 years when they change majors late, so they wait till their second or third year to switch into mechanical. And mechanical is a very popular degree, and there are many students who get to their third year and realize, oh, I want to be a mechanical engineer. And by then, they haven't taken the courses in our curriculum, so that's going to set them back. So between, more than half the students, it's 4 1/4. By the time you get to 4 2/4, it's about 2/3 of the students, and then about 85% of our students will graduate within 6 years, which compared to national average in mechanical engineering is astounding. It's very high. So engineering is not like business. If you want to graduate in less than 4 years, you can go to the business school or you can get a liberal arts degree, but not in engineering. This is a question I just don't know how to answer exactly. I've been thinking somebody's going to ask this. If online classes continue into the fall, what will happen with classes that require the use of labs and machine shops? We are doing those classes right now. And most of what we've been doing is videotaping lab experiences. So we'll have the professor in the lab make a videotape. Hey, if you were actually in the lab this quarter, which we wish you were, you would be doing this. You'd be turning these dials, flipping these buttons. And here's the data you would have got. Okay, now go process the data. So it's obviously not ideal. And we've been modifying what we do so it makes more sense online as well. The shops experience classes, it's really tough. And what we're planning on doing is when we're back on campus, those students can come into the shops and even the labs and use the hardware sort of like on Saturdays. Hey, we know you missed this experience in the spring. Come in this Saturday and you can use the equipment. So that's what we're doing now. If we continue to have to do that in the fall, which it's very unknown right now, we will probably do something similar, although we'll keep improving as we go along. But yeah, and then when we're at the point we're allowed to come back into the shops with the students in the labs, we will have time for the students to use those things. So that seems to be about the best we can do right now with the situation. Now, keep in mind, this is not going to go on for 4 years, and it's nice that we're in the quarter system. So if fall, it's hard for me to imagine that winter would be also online. So you'd be only missing 1 out of 12 quarters of hands-on experience. What do you see in your department as the most innovative initiatives happening now and in the near future? Recognize that this might change directions or slow. I think we've made we're constantly tweaking the curriculum to match basically what's going on in our profession, in our fields. Certainly the advent of big data and sensor data and stuff like that, we're infusing that into classes along with some physical system modeling, some more computer stuff that industry is using to model systems. So those are some big changes. We've also been shifting our energy focus into more renewables for obvious reasons, and have hired faculty in that area. And in the third area we've hired more people is in this idea of design thinking or creative design processes. And we've hired 2 faculty in the last couple of years in that area. So those, I mean, there's so much going on. We have 1,200 students and 50 faculty. There's innovations going on all over the place. And yeah, the pandemic might change. It might change who's hiring our students in the near and long-term future, and we will have to adjust to that for sure. Great question. As freshman in general engineering, considering mechanical engineering, would I be able to take the introductory ME classes freshman year? So the freshman year introductory classes consist of a laboratory where you get some experiences with mechanical engineering stuff, like taking apart a lawnmower engine, doing some measurements, doing some data crunching, programming a small robot, these kind of things, as well as a seminar class that we hope will not only allow you to meet friends, you'll learn the engineering design process, but also set you up for success in our program. If you start in general engineering, you will take a very similar course. It doesn't have the lab, but it's still similar, and it's the same 2 units. And if you were to switch to mechanical engineering, we would just swap those classes. You wouldn't have to retake it. And I have taught that general engineering course, and that's fine. Yes, you'll miss this, maybe taking apart a lawnmower engine, but if that's what you want to do, you can do that any weekend you want. The other intro classes, if you switched after the first quarter, you would, you could either jump into there, maybe, I can't promise that, or we have makeup courses for change of majors. So we have a drawing course and a machining course. And so if you switch after the first quarter, it won't set you behind at all. We are prepared for that. Would being an ME student make it more difficult to work on aero projects or otherwise utilize labs for that department? So when you say work on aero projects, obviously the classes are different. So you can't take the aero classes instead of the ME classes. So the class projects, yeah, you wouldn't be able to work on those. Labs in their department, nobody's looking right. We have better labs in mechanical engineering, so you're not missing anything there. They have 1 big wind tunnel. We have, 4 wind tunnels. It's not as big, but now, club activities are very interdisciplinary here. So one of the biggest clubs is Polysat, and Polysat makes these small satellites that they actually launch into space. It was an idea co-created here at Cal Poly, very popular around the world now, to launch these miniature satellites on rockets that have excess payload. And Polysat is doing this all the time. There's dozens of students working from all different majors. And I wouldn't be surprised if half of them were mechanical engineers. I've known a lot of my senior project students work in Polysat, and that happens. There's also the Design Build Fly Club that works on airplanes. Mechanical engineers are totally welcome to join that. The Rocket Club, mechanical engineers are in there, just like aero engineers are in our auto clubs. So working on those projects, it's not a problem. Most of the facilities that build these projects are run by the mechanical engineering department, but they're open to any student on campus can use our facilities to work and build projects. So you wouldn't get the projects in the lab, in the classes, but the extracurricular aerospace related projects, you are totally welcome. And you would be encouraged and welcomed by the aero students in there. As a matter of fact, you could be president of the Design Build Fly Club. There's no reason that it has to be an aero student. Does SLO have co-ops? So yes, many, I don't have the percentage, but a pretty high percentage of our students do what's known, we call them internships these days. We don't have a formal co-op program, what some schools where you're required to do the work in industry and you get course credit for it. We will give 1 class credit for a co-op. So it's not integrated into our curriculum like it might be at a few schools. That was a popular idea many years ago, but with pressure to reduce units in engineering, and we have less units than we did when I graduated 30 years ago, the co-ops have kind of gone by the wayside, but students do internships and they get that industry experience that way. And we will give them basically credit for one technical elective if they choose, if the student wants to. So, but as a formal co-op, no. Internships, and we highly encourage internships, and many, maybe, I guess I don't know the numbers, I should have that, but many of our students are in internships. So that, but that's slightly different than a formal co-op, but you get the same experience. Should a student consider mechanical engineering when they don't have prior experience with machines or intimidated with machines? Absolutely. Now, if you hate machines, this might not be the best major for you, but if you like the idea and you want to learn about them, absolutely. So like I said, in our intro class, we're going to take apart a lawnmower engine. Maybe of the 200 first-year students we get in here, maybe 2 of them have done something like that. So you're not alone. Our machine shops, where we want you to work, we assume you know nothing. We assume you've never even seen this equipment before. And we're going to take you right there and build up your skills. Now, we're not trying to make people welders or machinists. That's not our goal. That's not going to be your career. But you will probably be designing things that welders have to manufacture or machinists have to make. And so understanding the processes helps you make you a better mechanical engineer. But yes, please don't worry about no prior experience, and don't worry if you're intimidated. Everybody's intimidated, and it's good to be intimidated. Those are the people that don't hurt themselves. The people that hurt themselves are the ones that aren't intimidated by large machines. So absolutely, we welcome you. I've heard some talk about Cal Poly switching from quarters to semesters at some point. Can you address that? Yes. Will it happen? I don't know. Do the people on campus and alumni want it? No. Faculty of mechanical engineering don't want it. This was a push by the Chancellor's Office of the CSU. So we're part of the CSU, which is 23 campuses. And I don't know, maybe about 5 years ago, the Chancellor said, you know, wouldn't it be better if everybody was on the same system? So they wanted all campuses, that there was maybe 6 or 7 on quarters, to switch the semesters. So everybody was on semesters. Most of those other campuses did. We did not. We fought the Chancellor's Office and we essentially won. So I think as of next year, we'll be the only CSU on quarters. And the Chancellor said, okay, fine, stay on quarters. We're getting a new Chancellor next year. Will the Chancellor's Office push this again? I don't know. But President Armstrong is definitely 4 quarters. So I don't see that changing anytime soon, if at all. I hope not at all. And it's an interesting comparison to the UC system. So the UC system, every campus is on quarters, except for UC Berkeley. And in the CSU now, every system's on semesters, except for Cal Poly, we're on quarters. We think it works much better for engineering. For sort of smaller, we can offer you more classes, you get more variety in your classes, your instructors. So there's no plans. I can't predict the future, but nobody has been talking about it ever since we bucked the Chancellor and said, no, we're not changing, and he agreed. So, are there some classes offered during summer I can take in case I get behind? Yes. So summer, we offer classes in the summer. They're not usually too many, but usually they're the ones that sometimes students struggle with, or would be helpful to have if you've gotten behind, classes like dynamics and thermodynamics and fluids. Summer at Cal Poly is what we call a self-support model. It's not supported by the state. So it means the courses are slightly more expensive in the summer because that money has to directly pay the faculty member. Courses during the year, about 50% of the cost is subsidized by the state of California, but in the summer there's no subsidy, so the price goes up a little bit. And if not enough students sign up for a class, we can't run it because we need to break even. And that's basically my job as the chair, is to offer as many courses as I can, but not lose money. I'm not trying to make money, just not lose money. So, but yeah, every year we go through a process of figuring out what courses we can offer. And usually the courses are focused on the ones that will help you catch back up if you've gotten behind. How much is programming and coding used in any courses? Well, for the main general curriculum, not too much. You're required to take one computer science class, which teaches you how to program in MATLAB. You can, if you're a really good coder and you don't want to learn that, I mean, it's easy for you. You could take other courses. We'll let you switch. But most of the students take that because we use MATLAB in our other ME courses. And then you have to take one of our courses in dynamics where we require you to program in MATLAB. And that could be it. So if you don't like programming, that would be it. But you do need to know how to program. If you love programming, usually those students go to the mechatronics concentration, which I mentioned earlier. So that's when you're programming microprocessors to control machines. And I'll go back to the self-driving car. That example is a good example of a mechatronic system or a robot. And then even beyond that, if you're really, really into it, then you can go for a computer science minor. So that's what the next step up for our students that love coding. Another question, how many transfers were admitted in ME for fall 2020? I'm trying to get an idea of the cultural fit as an older student. I don't know the answer to how, because we don't, the departments don't know anything about admissions basically, which is wise, right? So we don't influence admissions in any way. All we do is tell them, hey, we think we can handle this many students. So for the fall, it's usually between probably 35 to 50 transfer students every year. So that means there's probably 100 to 150 of them just in mechanical engineering at any one time. So there's a number of transfer students. So you wouldn't definitely not be alone as a transfer student. So, and that's just in mechanical engineering. We are the biggest department. We have 1,200 students and probably about 100 of them are transfer students. But we did ask for a few more this year. We felt we could handle it. So there might be closer to the 50 number this year. If a student wants to make something for themselves of their own design in a workshop, will they have to provide their own materials, or will materials be available to them? So if you're making it for yourself, so here's the rules of the shop, and the answer is yes, you have to bring your own materials if it's for you. If it's for a class project, usually it's provided, but there are some times where the material's cheap and just to acquire, we don't know exactly what you need. So usually in a class where we don't require you to buy a textbook, we say, hey, you can chip in 20 or 30 bucks to buy the materials, not very much. And anytime that's a problem, let us know and we'll figure that out for you. So the use of the shops goes like this. If it's a class project, that has priority in the shops. Second priority are club projects. And if the machinery is available, which it is available lots of times, and you want to work on something that builds your skill with the machinery and it's for yourself, great. Just know that the classes and the clubs get priority. So, but yeah, you have to bring your own materials if it's for you. Do you pay tuition while you do an internship? So depends if you want credit for it. If you don't want credit, no, you just leave campus, do your internship, make money, come back. If you actually want some course credit, you do have to enroll in our co-op class. So that's a decision you'd have to make. Sometimes students want to do that because their financial aid is dependent on it, and we'll work with you on that. I'm doing this out of order. I'm supposed to click the button first. This is my first webinar, so I hope I'm doing okay. Do any students go off to an MBA at some point after graduating? If so, what schools does Cal Poly feed into? So absolutely. Some will do it right away. As a matter of fact, both my brothers started off as engineers and got MBAs. They didn't do it at Cal Poly, but similar type of experience. One of them did it right away. The other one went and worked for some years and then went and got his MBA. Sky's the limit for where you want to go. I mean, you could go to any MBA school in the country. Directly feeding into an MBA, yeah, that's a little rare. People usually want to get a few years of work in industry and then get their MBA. And if you're in a high population area, there's plenty of MBA night programs, which can make financial sense. But yeah, I don't think there's any limitation to where you could go with your undergraduate degree. Okay, how is the job opportunity with major in mechatronics? Very strong, very strong. Probably one of the strongest. Companies definitely looking, if you think about a product like a refrigerator, well, refrigerators are getting very smart, right? Refrigerators might have a LCD screen on the front, they might have sensors inside. Mechanical engineers are designing refrigerators, and now it has to get smart. It has to have a programming. It's going to have sensors that looks and see, hey, Jim, you need to buy a gallon of milk. I'll order that from Vaughn's and have it shipped to you or whatever. So that's an example of integration of, Internet of Things, we call them, or microprocessors. Vehicles, if modern cars these days are more mechatronic systems than they are mechanical, almost, especially as we're transitioning to electric drive vehicles where we don't have an internal combustion engine. These are all mechatronic related activities. So very strong job opportunities in mechatronics, from aerospace, transportation, home products, one of those big wheel skateboard things. That's all mechatronic devices. How many students admitted to ME for freshman year? So I don't know the number of admitted, but we'll usually end up with about 200 enrolled. So we'll end up with about 200 students plus or minus 20. So it's a little bit of a guess game as to how many will accept their admission. We know you have choices. We're the best choice, but you do have choices. So, but we expect to have about 200 freshmen and maybe 40 to 50 transfer students in the fall. Should freshmen purchase books? I think you meant this one. Should students purchase books before their first class meeting? So typically yes, although the first day of class, the professor will probably tell you, what the book is for that particular class. But the bookstore and online, they list these materials before the class starts. So yeah, it's good to have the book before the class starts if possible, but most faculty won't ask you to have read something before day one, although I'm famous for telling people they should have read chapter 1, but just as a joke. So you could wait till the first day, but then if you're buying it online, that makes it a little tricky to get it fairly quickly. If you're just going to go to the bookstore and buy it, then sure, you could wait till the first day. You're doing a great job in your first webinar. I appreciate your honest answers. Well, I don't know how to answer any other way. I don't know if I'm doing a great job. We were very stressed about 5 minutes before the big one started because the system kept going down, and I was on the phone to the associate dean trying to get some settings changed, but I guess it worked out. Will my slow undergrad degree in ME prep me for grad school oh, absolutely. So yeah, this is one of the misconceptions that the UCs like to put out there, that, oh, Cal Poly's practical, but we're theoretical. If you go and look at the curriculums in the classes, we have more theory in our curriculum than UC Berkeley does or UC Davis does. And we have labs, which they don't have, which is interesting because engineering is not based on, it's based on theory, but to do good engineering, you have to go beyond that. You have to have the practical experience. So no, we do an excellent job of preparing you for graduate school in mechanical engineering. Last year, we had 7 of our graduates who entered PhD programs in places like the University of Michigan, Berkeley, University of Washington, with I don't know how many others going to master's programs. Usually get several that end up going to Stanford for their master's. Yeah, you're super well prepared for graduate school with our curriculum, no doubt about it. Yeah. Wow. Time is at 4:54. Looks like I've answered all the questions. Any more questions out there? Are there going to be reps, mentors from ME during slow days? And wow, it'd be very helpful to be able to discuss and tour. Yes, so slow days is for the transfer students. Assuming that's going to happen in person this summer, which we're going forward, making that assumption at the moment. We typically have, I'm usually there, so I'll be there, and usually we have another representative from the department that helps me with curriculum questions. Wow, definitely. So we have a day in WOW where you have lunch and all the department faculty be there. We'll break you into groups of, I don't know, 10 or 15 per faculty member, and you'll sit down and have lunch and have a Q&A with that faculty member. And we'll also have all the clubs out there at WOW. So you can, so if transfer students should come to WOW, the admitted student or the new student day at WOW, because you can meet all the students in the clubs there too. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. What kind of laptop will I need? So we do not make any recommendations. So on our website, me.calpoly.edu, there is a page that talks about what kind of computer I need at Cal Poly and in mechanical engineering. We do not make a recommendation if you want to get a Windows-based machine or a Mac-based machine. Either will work just fine. We have ways where you can run software on your Mac through our servers. So you doesn't have to be a Windows-based computer to run. Most of the computers we provide in our labs that you learn with, those will all be Windows-based. So if you wanted to be consistent, then a Windows-based laptop. But other than that, you can read the page on our website. I am not the IT person in the department, so there's better information than I'm telling you, but it essentially doesn't matter. If you really like Macs, great. If it doesn't matter to you, then it doesn't matter to you. But yeah, but you can never go wrong getting the fastest one with the most memory. That's always true. Do you recommend students instantly joining clubs in their freshman year or waiting? Yeah, I think you should join. I just don't think you should join 5 of them. But we have a lot of freshmen who join clubs the first quarter and have a great experience. And we have students that do different clubs every year just because they want that breadth of experience. Others get really excited about maybe the formula car, and if they start as freshmen, they can work into leadership of the club. But yeah, just don't join 3 the first week. Just one or 2, that's good. Some clubs could take a lot of time if you're fully invested in them, and other ones don't. So you just have to learn to balance your time. So. I was very on the fence about accepting Cal Poly, but after all the webinars I watched today, especially the engineering ones, I'm definitely going to. Oh, cool. Well, great. Good. Thank you for broadcasting these and reaching out to students. You're very welcome, and thanks for coming. We look forward to seeing you in the fall, Xavier. That'll be exciting. Congratulations. Some classes say that another class is recommended. How is it important to take that recommended class? Well, it's not essential. So if you don't have the recommended class, that's fine. What we're basically saying is if you have the recommended class, that could really enhance your understanding and maybe make you go a little further with what we're talking about in the class. So, but it's not essential. You can succeed just fine without the recommended class. Will you have any student forums? So I assume you're talking about part of this admitted student day. So what we did today was the 5 different breakout groups. Most of those did have a panel of students. I actually don't know what went on during those. One of the glitches we found out is I was listed as host of all the sessions. So if anytime I logged on, they couldn't log on. So they were busy making me not the host. So I decided not to listen in on any of those because I didn't want to mess them up in any way. But each one did have some students. So hopefully there was time for some Q&A with the students. We are not planning on any other formal panel of students. However, if you email the department, so that's me-dept@calpoly.edu, and ask, can I talk to a current ME student? Our ASME students, this is a service they provide the department, and we'll set you up for somebody to call you and talk. Or if you want to talk to me one-on-one via Zoom like this, you can ask for an appointment by emailing that email address as well. Do most of the students keep living in the dorms after the first year? I'd say about half the students will live the second year in the dorm and about half won't. The university, we have some data that shows that students succeed a little bit better if they spend 2 whole years in the dorm. So Students the first year will get a lot of encouragement to come back and stay the second year because we think you'll do better. But I'd say about half the students don't. They decide that, no, I want that experience off campus, and that's fine too. There's we're obviously a college town, and there's places to live. So that, I think, would be a personal choice. But you will be encouraged to stay in the dorms for a second year, just because we think that'll help you succeed, because you'll be there, you'll be maybe less distractions. Should I take Calculus 1 and 2 again, even though I took Calc BC? I want to be prepared for more difficult ME classes. So I think if you took Calc BC and you passed and got credit, you're pretty safe jumping into Calc 3. If you feel like you just skated by, then maybe Calc 2, but I don't think you need to go back to Calc 1. I think that would probably be a waste of time if you took BC, but I'd be pretty comfortable saying you could jump right into Calc 3. If you felt comfortable with Calc BC, you did well on the exam. Again, it's a personal feeling. It's hard for me to gauge, but if you really are feeling, gee, maybe I didn't really get all of it, then maybe Calc 2, but don't go back to Calc 1. I think that would be a waste of time. Okay, I've exhausted the questions again. This feels a little bit of a race against me and the screen here to put the questions up, and I see how fast I can get through them. Okay. Non-academic question. What are some favorite things to do in SLO? There's a lot to do here, especially if you like the outdoors. So I'm a huge fan of cycling, specifically mountain biking. And Cal Poly, if you come on campus, you'll see we're nestled up against these hills, and there's Cal Poly land to mountain bike on, and you can go beyond that. It matches up to National Forest land, and there's great mountain biking right from campus. So that's great. The ocean's there, great beaches, great surfing, kayaking, if you like to get out and kayak, a lot of animal life. And Cal Poly actually has a pier with a Marine Science Institute on it. So there's that. There's lots of open space preserves for hiking around here. So I'm telling you most of the things that I like to do. I'm not sure that would qualify what students like to do. Thursday night is farmers market downtown. It's a big social food event that happens every week that, when you come here for WOW, if you're an incoming freshman, your WOW group, I'm sure we'll go down and introduce you to that. There's lots of sports on campus, off campus. Yeah, lots of good stuff to do here. I love mountain biking. Is there a club? Oh, yes. So there's the, what do they call them now? They changed names a few years ago. Yes, there's a bike club. Well, there's two things here. So the university has a team that competes against other universities, but it's not an NCAA team. Anybody can join. They have big training rides. I see them doing road rides. They also have a mountain biking version of the team. They're Cal Poly Cycling? Maybe it's just called Cal Poly Cycling. They used to be called the Wheelmen, but not anymore. They have a huge women's team in events, so they changed their name, and I guess I can't remember the name. I'm sorry about that. The other thing is, in mechanical engineers seem to be attracted to bicycles for whatever reason. I used to work in a bike shop in high school. The department has a class, an elective class in designing and building bikes. It's called single track vehicles, and you can get it for technical elective credit. One of a very popular club is the Bike Builders Club. So you can join that and learn how to actually build your own bike, and you can check them out online. They've done some cool bikes. They usually enter them at the North American Hand-Built Bicycle Show every year and have won awards there. But you can go learn how to make your own bike as well. So yeah, we have all of the above on cycling. Lots of good cycling around here. Cool. All right, got one more here. Thanks for the session. It was very helpful. I am too convinced to come to. All right, cool. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you, Alan. It's kind of a little strange that I can't see you, but I can see some names. But we'll certainly look forward to seeing everybody in the fall. That would be great. Well, if there's no more questions, once again, ME-DEPT, ME department at calpoly.edu. If you have other questions and then all the breakout sessions we will have videotaped, and I don't know if it'll be Monday or Tuesday before we get those edited correctly and posted. But if you go right back to that same website on the ME page we showed you, we'll have the videos so you can see maybe the breakout sessions that you missed. So great session. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. Appreciate everybody being here, and hope to see you in the fall. All right. Bye, everybody.